So welcome to episode 14 of Down on the Corner. We're joined by a man who's still considered by many the greatest all-around athlete in Connecticut history. All-state player, football, baseball, track and field in high school. The only three-time all-state football player in Connecticut history. Go on to play 10 years for the Dodgers, Angels, Mets, Seattle Mariners. He managed another 16 with the Texas Rangers. Our New York Mets included that magical trip to the World Series. Boston Red Sox. He also teamed up with a good friend of the show, legendary author Peter Golenbach, for a fantastic book, Valentine's Way, My Adventures, Life, and Times. It is always a pleasure to talk to baseball with the man we all know and love, is Bobby V, Bobby Valentine. Bobby, thanks so much for your time tonight. Those in the Zoom room, I know you guys waited patiently. I ask that you wait. I'm going to ask a couple of questions and we're going to throw it over to you, always, as always. And you guys, I don't even have to say this because you're always respectful. I love the fact that you guys ask better questions than we can ever come up with. So, Bobby, first question right off the bat. 2 days ago, believe it or not, 23rd anniversary of one of the more famous Mets catcher balks in history. It was one of your 17 ejections in 7 seasons here in Queens. 2 questions on that. First one is, tell us more about that play that eventually got you tossed and what you did after that became one of the most memorable moments in Mets history. What did you actually say to the umpire?
Well, I don't remember what I said. It was a crazy thing. The home plate umpire called a catcher's balk on Mike Piazza and awarded the hitter first base and the runner second base. And I didn't think that he was making a very sane call. And I might have said something about what I thought of his sanity, or I'm not sure what I said, but yeah, I got thrown out. I went to the clubhouse. It's a story that everyone knows. You know, it was 100 years ago, and it was 30 seconds of my life or whatever. But in the introduction, you missed 10% of my life, which was spent in Japan managing there.
Yes.
And now we'll spend the first 2 minutes of your show on 30 seconds of my life. Yeah, so I came back because the guy said, go back there. I had coaches that were only with the team a few days. And yeah, I put glasses on and a hat and T-shirt, and then took the stickums that guys put underneath their eyes and put one here as a mustache and the other on this side as a mustache. And yeah, I thought they'd never know.
Well, if I remember correctly, your quote was that you actually asked the umpire if you could throw a guy out for what he's thinking. And he said no. And then you proceeded to tell him what you were thinking. And that's when he threw you out. That was one of the greatest lines ever. But the reason why I asked that question, because it also led, I said, to your ejections. And Buck had a moment in the game the other day where Luis Guillorme, clearly on a transfer, dropped the ball. The umpire called him safe. Buck came out half-heartedly argued and lost his ability to challenge the call because he was out there arguing. My question is, now with replay, does it take one of the tools of a manager? Like, have you ever gotten into an argument with an umpire and got ejected on purpose for the purposes of firing up a team? And does now replay take that tool out of a manager's toolbox?
Well, I might have tried to do that. I don't know that it ever worked. But yeah, you don't do it much anymore. You have to really have a reason to go out there to argue, to get thrown out. But Phil Nevin got thrown out yesterday with the Angels, you know, and on a because of balls and strikes thing. And eventually there'll be a robo-ump, so you won't have to worry about getting thrown out on that. Yeah, I guess it's one of those things that managers used to do. They maybe used to do it a little more than they do it now. Yeah.
So Steve Cohen, obviously pretty high profile owner. You had the opportunity to work for a future president of the United States who, used to, run the warning track in the morning, used it for his jog. He'd shower in your office shower, then he'd sit and talk baseball with you. Can you tell our audience a little bit what it means when you're a manager? Every guy that owns a team is fairly high profile because they've made a lot of money in whatever industry they are. But obviously, George W. Bush is a little different. What's it like to be a manager for such a high profile owner? And does it bring other pressures with it?
Well, I would think that they're all different. And as you said, if you're an owner of a baseball team, that means you have, access to that world of billionaires, and they're all pretty high profile. So, you have to understand who it is you're working with and, or for, and, do things accordingly. I wish there was one size fit all, but if anything, that the rich and powerful have is a uniqueness to them that kind of made them different, special, whatever it is, to make all the money that they made.
It's interesting. Social media.
Now, George Bush wasn't that guy. He didn't have a lot of money. And at the time, he was high profile, because of his dad and his family. So, and he was making a profile by being an owner of a baseball team, making his own, and it became a spectacular profile. And he's a great guy.
It's interesting.
So
social
you
media
go from there. Yeah.
Social media has created millions of baseball geniuses, each knowing exactly what's wrong with the teams they follow, each knowing more than the managers, and I've said this, and we spoke about this before he came on the air, that not like you when you were managing, Buck, have more baseball knowledge and one, hair on your eyebrow than every single person on social media combined, without question. We have no conception of what a manager goes through. I know in speaking to you in the past or reading your book, that 2000 year, you had so much going on. Your relationships with the Levinsons, the preconceived notion of you, your adversarial relationship with Steve Phillips, and in 2000 managing as a lame duck manager. And look what you accomplished in 2000. What are some of the things that fans just don't understand about the job of managing a team with high expectations and everything that comes with it, that they just have zero clue about?
Well, first of all, let's put all that in perspective. So we're not like saying that people on social media are all a certain type. All that social media has done is gotten a collected thought in one place. I think the Yankee fan, the Met fan, the Dodger fan, whatever fan you were, the Ranger fan, when I was managing, there was no social media in Texas, yet every Texas Ranger fan was having the same thoughts and the same conversations with their friends as people are having thoughts now and having conversations with those likes that aren't friends, but they're likes, and they become friends. So it's not really so much different, but some of the things that go on are just the interpersonal situations that you have to deal with. And sometimes they're taken care of, in the training room, in the hotel during breakfast, in your hotel room, in your office, who knows? Sometimes they're taken care of out of the public's eye. Sometimes they manifest themselves kind of in a lineup. And all of a sudden a guy's not in the lineup, and you're not going to tell the world why he's not in the lineup, and he knows why he's not in the lineup, and I know why he's not in the lineup, and that becomes a little stressful. And there's also those they're more than hunches today. There's a way of coming to a determination as to what you do and how you do it. And it's based on the knowledge that everyone has. And then it's usually based on that plus some inside information, and the inside information is just knowing the person and the situation.
Interesting. So that brings me to my next question. We all know what an unbelievable baseball mind that Bobby Valentine has. New rules have added wrinkles. Buck is a couple of times I've questioned him. He's all about the 3-batter rule in initial construct of the lineup. Do you like the new rules, and how do you think Bobby Valentine would fare as a manager given the new set of rules? And is it something that you think you would enjoy, because you thought the game, just like Buck, you were always 2 steps ahead of the other team?
I always thought it was 2 steps. Oh, I'm not going to go there. I don't know about being 2 steps or being smart or any of that stuff. It's all about preparation. I mean, it's not that you have some worldly knowledge that no one else has. It's seeing and understanding what you're seeing. That's all. And vision is one of those things that allows people to make decisions. You know, a hitter sees the ball. He thinks he knows what kind of pitch it is. He makes a decision on where it is that you swing. You know, during a game, a manager is seeing things and then trying to apply a strategy or a thought that might negate what you're seeing or amplify what you're seeing. And it's got to be done on a timely fashion. So, you know, as long as you're prepared, you can make all those decisions because you'll understand what you're seeing when you're prepared. When you're not prepared, you'll be confused by what you'll see and not be able to react to it in time because you're trying to figure out what you just saw. If that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. You know, I went back because I was, and I didn't think I was going to find it, and I didn't. No point of your Met tenure after 65 games where the Mets ever 30 and 35. Well over 500, mostly every season.
What year was that?
You were right now. The Mets are at 65. None for you. None for you after game 65. You guys were always over 500 every single year, way over.
Wow.
The question that I'm asking is, was either with Texas or with the Red Sox, when a team is going bad, you know, we hear like a players only with the manager closed door meetings. You know, I guess it has to be fairly calculated as to when you do that. And have you ever had a player closed door meeting with you? And what are some of the things that are discussed that are helpful to try and get a team out of a funk?
Wow. Okay, so I don't want you to mix terms here for your listeners. Closed door meeting is the manager and the players and the staff. So the guys who work in the clubhouse, the press, anybody else, front office people are out of the room, and it's a closed door meeting. Then there's a players only meeting. And that meeting becomes a closed door meeting, but it's without the coaches and the manager. It's players only. They'll get to talk about the coaches and the manager if they feel like they need to. Or they'll amplify a message that the manager might be trying to present if in fact the people who are talking in the meeting are the disciples of the manager, if you know what I mean. So those are interesting. And then there's a closed door meeting where you'll have a player or two in your office and close the door to the clubhouse and to the peers. So, you know, those all take place in the best environment, in a planned yet spontaneous moment. So you might think as a manager, gosh, we're going to need to talk to the club and going to have to close the door, maybe say some things that need to be said because they're being misunderstood. You wait for the right opportunity to do that. The players only meeting, most managers have those guys within the structure who are kind of, you know, they're on his side of the aisle. And you know, Casey Stengel said that if you have 25 guys on a baseball team, that 8 of them are going to like you and 8 of them aren't going to like you. And the key is to keep the other 9 close to the 8 that like you and not to have those other 9 go over to those who don't like you. So every once in a while, the players only meeting are instigated by the manager by kind of going to one of his guys and saying, hey, maybe you guys need a meeting. And then they call it, and then they're the first ones to speak, and then he usually controls the narrative. But you can't plan them all to the T. Sometimes there's spontaneous stuff that also must happen.
2 more before I turn it over to the Zoom room. Subway Series on tap.
Okay, how much longer are you going to go? Because I'm going to do dinner in about 25 minutes. I have to be somewhere.
Then we'll give you 12 minutes and you're gone. How's
You
that?
got it. Okay.
All right,
Just
perfect.
so
All right.
everyone knows. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So
Yeah.
Subway Series, you're part of the two high-profile Subway Series here in New York, the very first one, and of course the World Series. What, if anything, that regular season series, I know it was the first, you got to play in a couple other of the leagues. What is that like? Does it present other challenges? And of course, everything that went on with the 2000 World Series, what was that experience like?
Well, it was, the interleague started in 97, and coinciding with 97, I was trying to form a new kind of culture and team in Queens, got there and things needed to be changed. And as I was doing that, the headlines were being captured every day by the Bronx because they started this thing going that had everyone imagining it turning into a dynasty. Oh, yeah. And guess what? It turned into a dynasty. And as they were doing that across town, we had to play interleague games, which were really cool at the beginning. It was really cool. It was the Mets and the Yankees. It was during the season. Everyone could get excited. And then it became a burden. It became a distraction, something that was talked about three weeks before you played it and 3 weeks after you played it. And it became, as Joe Torre said, something that should be eliminated. It just got too much after maybe the first 3 or 4 years. But gosh, I was in all of those years. And when you just think about it, what we were doing is playing our rival twice, where everybody else you're playing once. And so like Atlanta was playing their rival twice, and I think the rival might have been Miami, or I don't remember who the rival was, but it wasn't the Yankees, that's for sure. So we're playing 3 extra games against the Yankees that no one else has to deal with. And with that came all that garbage, not garbage, all the noise, all the distractions. And it was tough. I mean, they were so darn good. And then you think they weren't good, and then they add 2 or 3 pieces of everyday players who everyone knew. And, we were putting our team together the best we could with what we did. But in another time, I would have rather have had that not been interleague days. As much fun as they were, they were like playing 190 games instead of 160 games. It left its mark.
I'm going to bypass my last question. My last question and I just want to remind people of what Al Leiter said about you. And he just gave you so much credit at the Hall of Fame induction about you having the confidence in him. And he pointed to, his time in New York made special because of you. So
he was a good pitcher when he got there, that, and he continued to be a good pitcher, and it was really nice of him to remember that I was his manager, but it was all about him.
All right, so guys, Bobby's got limited time. We want him to enjoy his dinner. So just if you have questions, either use the raise hand function or do it old school and actually raise your hand. All right, so Eric, who's that? Who's got Mark? Go ahead, unmute. Got to unmute, Mark. There
yes, I know. I'm joining it. Bobby, thank you for joining the Zoom. I appreciate it.
Okay. You're welcome.
I was going to ask you, when you were the manager for the Mets, there was the co-ownership of Nelson Doubleday and then Fred Wilpon. How was your dealings with both of them? And then did you have a specific preference of one or the other two?
Well, they were both cool co-owners, very different. Nelson was kind of a party animal, and Fred was a businessman who wanted to do good. He always wanted to do the right thing and be in the right place. And Nelson would just pop up once in a while if his boat happened to be docked in the area, and make sure that everyone was happy and had enough to drink, and then went on his merry way. And I thought they were both pretty cool guys.
Who else? Raise your hand. All right, Bobby, unmute and go ahead.
All right. I spoke with Steve Phillips a couple months ago on my podcast, and I had a question for you. He said nothing but good things, by the way. Can you give us
Yeah, I
your
just saw him. He's cool. Yeah, go ahead.
can you give us your take and your side of Wharton Gate and Brad 34?
Brad 34, wasn't that a spectacular moment in life? Yeah. Well, what it wasn't a take at all. What really happened was I spoke at the Wharton School of Business. I spoke on the business of baseball. Made a pretty damn good presentation, as a matter of fact. And then it was over. And as I was leaving and walking out down the halls and out the building, because we had practice coming up soon, 5 or 6 kids were walking with me, some of the students. And well, one of them would say something like, hey, are you going to start, something silly? And then I would answer it in a silly way. And then one of them said something like, why'd you sign Ordonez to that large contract? And I said, oh, we wanted to give the guy with the lowest on base and slugging percentage a little security in the world. Kiddingly, no, kind of being serious. And then something else about Derek Bell. Why you sign Derek Bell? What the hell are you doing? And I was walking and I said, well, because Benny Agbayani played so well last year, we don't want to give him the at-bats to let him continue his career. And one other stupid thing, I forget what it was. Anyway, I got to the ballpark, and this was in whatever year it was. It must have been 99. And the internet and blogging was just becoming popular. And when I got there, only one of the reporters had seen a blog from Brad 34 kind of saying what I was saying walking out of the Wharton School. Yeah. And so, Steve called and said he was going to fire me if I said that stuff in the speech at the Wharton School of Business. And I said, Steve, I did not say anything even close to that at the speech at the Wharton School of Business. And so I never lied to him. And Brad, the funny thing about that is Brad 34, the one kid, later interviewed and became an employee of a good friend of mine in downtown Manhattan, which becomes crazier as the day goes on.
All right, we got time for two more. Sal, go ahead, Sal.
Hi, Bobby. We go back to the days of Manchester Technologies.
Wow.
Right? You were there. You were so far ahead of your technology back then, and that's 15, 20, 25 years ago. Do you think it's too much now with the analytics and just driving these guys? It's too much for them to think about?
Oh, you mean for the players?
Yeah.
Okay. So first off, information's good. There's no doubt that information's good. Secondly, the game of baseball itself, the game when it's played, ready, set, action, go, and now something's happens very quickly. Okay, so as I said before, preparation's the key to success, and the player needs to be prepared so that he can make these split-second decisions. Okay, split-second decisions. If the ball's in the air, going 60 feet and it's 90 miles an hour, it's in the air this long. Can you see my eyes? That's called the blink of the eye. You've heard the expression, oh, hell, it was just a blink of the eye. Well, that's what a ball does in time from the time it leaves the pitcher's hands. And so your thinking must be clear in order to react properly to this ball in space. And if it's not clear and confused in any way by the umpire, by the girl sitting in the front row, by the pitch the guy's throwing, by whatever the information you got before the game, if anything confuses you in any way, get your mind off of the main thing, and the main thing is the main thing. That's right. That's the ball. If you get your mind off of that, you're in trouble. So some guys are, yes, getting in trouble because they don't know how to use the information. Okay. I think in years to come, just like we didn't know how to Zoom a phone call a few years ago, everyone's going to know how to use the information. And with the usage, they'll probably be a little better. But I don't think it will be incremental leaps until the robo ump is calling balls and strikes on the robo hitter who's hitting against the robo pitcher. Okay. As long as humanoids are playing the game, the information must be concise enough not to ever cause confusion. And we're not there yet.
Great. Good to see
Awesome,
you, Bobby.
Bobby.
Thanks again.
Bobby. So
Love Manchester. What great times with
Oh, yeah.
Manchester. 10 years. Oh my.
all right, Bobby. So I know you have
Thank
dinner,
you.
and I want to just thank you first of all for coming on. And the only reason why I brought up that 30 seconds of your life, because it is a memorable moment in Met history, but what I really want to close with is much more enduring and much deeper meaning. Again, just, and I've said this to you many times, just want to thank you so much for how you helped heal and the Mets helped heal after 9/11 and the work you did in the parking lot, over and above all the greatness you put out on the field. That is the everlasting memory of that Met team, and you were the biggest part of it. Leaders lead, and you did at that point, and and always on top of that, always being available for things like this. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the Met fans on this Zoom for sure as well. So again,
out there, give everyone my best. You're more than kind. You've compliments are always remembered and appreciated. Thank you very much. Next time, just send money, as they say. Listen, enjoy yourself. Continued baseball success. Right now, you know what happens in a baseball season, and you all know, but during this time, teams come together, or at least they're supposed to come together. Sometimes they don't come together, and that's why you have those 5 new guys come in the All-Star break to try to change what was going on. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But the teams that do come together during this time start to be tested. They get tested with an injury, Peter Alonso, or whatever. Get tested with something going wrong outside the clubhouse, getting tested with injuries. All those tests, getting tested by getting swept by your rival, all 1-run games or something like that. The team gets tested, and if you pass the test, then you continue to build as a team. And if you build as a team into the end of the season, you have success. But it's not easy, and it's not going to be easy for the Mets moving forward this year. They're going to have to pull out all the stops.
And you're not having a wrap for dinner, right? I had to throw that in there. Sorry, Bobby.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Have a great night, Bobby. Thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, bro. You're the best.
Right.
Take care.
You got it.
Thank
Take care,
you.
Bobby. All right, guys, if you want to hang, we want to talk a little more Met baseball, or just reflect on what Bobby told us, more than welcome. Anyone have some final comments? If you can, you know what? Everyone can, well, I don't want everyone to unmute because then we'll just talk over each other. But if anyone would like to add something, just raise your hand and we'll wrap it up here. Anyone? Sal? All right, Sal. So go ahead.
Well, the one thing like we were talking about before, I would take Daniel Murphy over Daniel Vogelback, and I think every fan would take him right now because he could hit 265 in his sleep. The other thing is, I think McNeil is having a problem with the lack of the shift because he would just push balls wherever, hit them where they ain't. And he's not able to do that. And I've noticed he's dropped his choking down a little bit. I think that's a reflection of him not getting much extra base hits. He had a home run today, had a double the other day. So I think those are factors. At least he's trying to figure it out. Marte, I expect him to just get there at some point, but man, it's just taking too long.
I think that's a really good point on McNeil. I really do. I think you're right. And the funny thing is I think they did analytics who would be most affected by a shift, who would have the least, who would have a higher average because of the lack of the shift. And I think the wisdom was, due to the lack of the shift, McNeil was going to have more openings, and he doesn't. So it is interesting. That's what he said. Again, I think there's too much information. He's right. See the ball, hit the ball. That's it. I don't think McNeil is a guy who looks at, the reports they give him. I think he said that it was clogging his mind, that he just wants to go up and look for pitch and pitch recognition. So I agree with Bobby. Too much information. I think that's a problem. And I think all these teams want to build because everyone has the same here's the other thing. If everyone has the same exact information, okay, and you know what pitches to throw, then everyone would be a 500 team. Right? If the batter knows exactly what the pitcher's going to throw, and he knows the locations, and every team knows that, but the pitcher knows the weak spots of the batter, everyone has the same information. So everyone should be 500, but they're not. So these other teams look for other edges instead of just focusing on the game of baseball. It's as simple as see the ball hit the ball, and that's exactly what Bobby said, which is interesting. Anybody else have some closing thoughts before we go? Raise your hand, old school way or regular way. All right, Bobby, go ahead, unmute.
Sal, I take you over Vogelback at this point. I think, and Marte, I think he was a key player last year. He was one of our better players. He's one of the bigger disappointments. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's kind of a lot of times too. A lot of people say the lack of effort and this and that. Listen, baseball teams, when they're not winning and they're not hitting, it looks like they're not trying. When they're hitting and everything, everybody's excited. It looks like they're playing great. So I don't think there's a lack of effort or a lack of want on this team. I think it just kind of looks like that. You hear that a lot. Any team that's not hitting or a guy's in a slump, oh, he's not trying, he doesn't care. I think they care. I think they're trying. And I think they're going to come out of it. The question is, are they going to come out of it too late?
See, the thing with Marte, and it's interesting, right? I had hip replacement, okay? And I will tell you to this day, I do not have the same torque on any swing when I swing. And I don't think it has anything to do with my hip. I think it's a mental thing where I'm just afraid. I think he had double groin surgery. I think he's afraid to really explode and rotate those hips in the bat. He went how many games without an extra base hit? And yet it's interesting, the base paths, the stealing, there's been no drop off on that. However, going to balls to the right have been an issue in the outfield where he would, how many games did we see last year where he'd run all the way to the wall at Citi Field and make those plays? How many times have we seen it this year where that ball bounces in for a ground rule double where he's not even close to getting to the ball, let alone catching it?
Yeah, but I was sorry. I mean, Mark, no, you hit the same, you said you hit the same amount of home runs before your hip surgery as you did after though, right?
I got a couple more in the Parkers now. No, but I think that, and I think it was Ronnie Darling who made the point that, that it took Acuna 1 year to come back from that horrible sprain to be the player he was. And he's a younger player than Marte is. So I don't know if Marte is ever going to get to that level. Hopefully, he's starting to hit the ball better, no question about it. But again, when you have no protection in the lineup and everyone's going bad, pitchers can, play with you and really, everyone was getting ahead of him on every count. The Mets are not working counts anymore. I don't know if that's a function of the pitch clock, but very rarely are they in hitters counts. Larry,
they do, but
your hand.
I'll just give you my opinion. My opinion is that the weight of the world is on Lindor's shoulders. He's not handling it too well. I think if he wasn't playing here, he'd be playing better. I think the pressure of being New York, that's just my opinion, is getting to him. I think he
40 plus RBIs, man.
Like,
I don't care. Listen, he fields unbelievably. I mean, he's made 4 errors all season. All right. Everyone's on him. He's starting to hit now. I mean, I think he's had 4 home runs in his last 6 games, right? Something like that. He's raised his average. He's a team leader. No one tries harder than him. Listen, you know what? And I've asked him about the pressure, and he embraces it. He says pressure is what's the actual word he uses?
Privilege.
Privilege.
Pressure is
that's what Max said.
Right.
That's what Max said.
Right. And those are the type of guys they are. I don't think it's the weight of the world. I think, listen, I don't know how much WBC has also had an effect on these players too. Not being with the team, leaving the team. It's not a normal season. And I asked him also, here's the other thing. And he did say this, and you can check it on our website on the video locker room. I asked him last season, he made a special point in spring training that the key to his success going forward is slowing everything down, taking the opportunity to slow things down. I asked him this year, how much has the pitch clock affected his ability to slow things down? And he said it's been very difficult. The beginning of the season, he had a tough time adjusting to that, and he thinks he's getting to the point now where he can, even with the pitch clock, start to slow things down. And you are seeing an uptick in his average now a little bit, but he's still driving in runs. So even his horrible year, that first year, he does things that are settles down the pitching staff. He's the first guy to go. And now it's even more important with that pitch clock to know when to time it, to go out and slow your pitcher down. Again, listen, last year was an MVP caliber type year. Was he going to repeat that? No. But I still think at the end of the season, he'll be, I'd say conservative. I would pencil in right now Lindor for 255 average. I'd say he's probably going to hit 28 home runs and he's going to drive in 85 RBIs for a shortstop. I'll take that right now. And that might even be on the low end. He's got, I think he's got 12 now. Does he have 12 home runs right now?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. We're not even at the All-Star break for a shortstop. Look at Trey Turner. I mean, Trey Turner is struggling. It's a different year. A lot of these guys are having difficulty adjusting to the pitch clock and the speed of the game. It's interesting. They all said it's to the pitcher's advantage, which it is. Pitcher gets in a groove, they can just keep pumping it in, and you can't slow them down. You get that one time out. Yeah, Lar. You got on mute. Got on mute, Lar. Or got on mute unless you want to be Marcel Marceau. Go ahead.
Okay, the pitcher of Pittsburgh today, right?
Yes.
His name was whatever. We're making this guy into an all-star. Seems like every team we're making these guys into all-stars. It just seems that way. And
Yes,
then
but the old adage is you're never as good as you appear, and you're never as bad as you appear.
And again, the
And
year
this-
is short, right? It's only
That's
90. It's only 65 games. So
Listen, this could be what it is. This could be what it is, and that happens. There are years where things just totally go the wrong way. You hit the ball hard, it's right to a guy in the right position. You get injuries. Listen, coming out of spring training, Quintana injury, the Diaz injury, lots of things. It's you have to, like Bobby says, these are tests. You have to overcome these adversities. And listen, the Phillies were in the same exact position last year. They fired Girardi. We're not firing anyone, but they made it to the World Series.
Can we just blame the WBC?
Yeah,
Can we just blame the WBC?
Well, listen, Diaz was a big part of it. I mean, there was a trickle down effect. But again, like I said in the open, I don't know if Diaz saves 8 of 10 at this point in the season, but it definitely changed the whole makeup of that bullpen, which they really try to build. The one thing is, do you go out right now and try to get Chapman, who's a horrible human being?
What about his brother, Diaz's brother?
But what are you going to have to give up to get Diaz's brother?
Yeah, you're right.
That's the problem. That's when everyone's calling for a different GM. Billy Epler's got no chips to play with. I'd hate to see any of these prospects go. The only one that you might be able to get rid of is Prada, who is the next catching prospect who might be all around better than Alvarez, but you're not going to get that much from him right now because he's with Brooklyn. It's like.
But I mean, even when the Mets have pitching prospects, I mean, look, it's not Mets have great pitching over the course of their franchise, but Pulsifer, Wilson, how many of these pitching prospects do we have to see come up and not really do anything?
Right.
So
right, it's crazy. I mean, the bottom line is, and it's hysterical. If you take a look, forget about Generation K, but we look at Zach Wheeler and Harvey and DeGrom and all these guys.
Yeah,
and I think the number 2 guy win-wise out of all of them, believe it or not, that came up at the same time is Colin McHugh. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. It's crazy. Crazy.
When we have great ones, it's they're either got a drug problem or they're
get hurt.
DeGrom with the mystery injuries year after year.
Crazy. I feel for him. I mean, that was painful to watch that press conference, but thank God it was a Texas Ranger press conference and not a Met press conference.
He's still got more money than all of us, so I don't feel too bad for him.
But listen, you know what? And on the flip side, Billy Epler could have been in deeper crap if you think about it. We dodged a bullet with Trevor Bauer. We dodged that bullet. Okay. And and then also the fact that everyone was smart enough to walk away from what's his name? That's also on the Rangers. Our draft pick. from Vanderbilt. Why am I blanking on his name?
Oh,
The guy had the elbow shirt.
Kumar,
Oh,
right?
Rocker.
Right. Kumar Rocker. So imagine if we signed him. Elbow surgery. It's just
we'll get him off free agency in a couple of years.
Well, that's you're gonna have to because there's no pitching prospects. Joey Lucchese's pitching well in AAA. That's one thing. But even the guys that brought up, Curtis is not. Curtis is getting lit up. It'd be interesting. Chapman's going somewhere, and he's probably going to come someplace. And I could see him with the Phillies, and that would be a nightmare for us. So, all right. Anybody else have anything in closing? Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, no, yeah. Before I go, just with Lindor, just to let you know, the guy is averaging 2 RBIs every 3 games in the last year and a little more than a quarter. I mean, if that's doing bad, that's a pretty damn good player, especially who can field. So just
not only that.
I think he'll be just fine. I mean, he's doing fine. I mean, even the first year. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers right now. He's played 351 games as a Met. 213 RBIs. That's actually that's about 100 RBIs per 162, and that's after his first year, which wasn't very good.
Right, and not only that.
I mean, people he can't handle the pressure. Well, no, yes he can. He's proven that. But yes, his OPS and his batting average could be better. I mean, obviously, yeah, he's in a little funk. But it's just, it's 162 games, man. And plus, like I say, he's on a pace to get 108 RBIs. I mean, whatever.
And he's a gamer.
Whatever.
He's a gamer. He plays every game. And he is, believe it or not, I mean, people don't realize, I see every single game that I'm there. First of all, he's after fielding and hitting. He goes and whatever, group the Mets have on the field, he stays and signs every autograph. He goes on the road. He signs every autograph. He grants every single interview. He is spread so thin, but he embraces it because he understands. He knows that, listen, this is, I don't want to get religious. I mean, but that's the way he views it. This is God's gift to him and he's going to give back. That's the way he feels. And that is, when they first signed him, I'm going, oh boy, this is too good to be true. This guy is a phony. And he is so, I told him, I said, Met fans don't realize how lucky they are. I told him in all my years of covering people, the only guy that's on the similar plane to him, and I probably got to piss off some Islander friends, is Henrik Lundqvist. Same exact type of guy. Superstar, but would give you no matter, crappy game, buy his locker. Great game, buy his locker. 20 minutes, you need it, you got it. Always gives of his time and is, he is a team leader. Forget whatever Kipnis says. He is a team leader. He's well respected in that clubhouse. And no one takes losing harder than him, and no one takes ownership of his slump more than him. So I agree. He's not the problem. If you gave me 8 more Lindors, we win the division. That's the way I look at it.
Guys, take care.
All right, guys. Hopefully next week will be a better week. I've been saying that. I feel like Leslie Nielsen. Was it Leslie Nielsen in Airplane? No, it was Lloyd Bridges. It was Lloyd Bridges. I picked the wrong year to start a Met website. Looks like I picked the wrong year to start a
We
Met
need
website.
somewhere to complain. We got somewhere to come complain. So it's not even
That's true. That's true. But I thought we would have a place where we would rejoice in wins, but maybe we'll get there. Maybe
deep down you knew that wasn't the case. Deep down you knew this is what it was going to be. A support group. It's a support group.
really. We could call this Mets A, like MA.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a great week. I think we're back Monday. Next Monday is an 8-10 game, so I think we'll do a pregame. And I think we play the Astros next Monday, if I'm correct.
Great.
Right? Is that someone looking at it? I'm pretty sure it's the Astros. I know we play the Yankees, the Cardinals, and then I think we play the Astros. Not a great.
The Yankees get us and the A's when Judge goes down. We get the Yankees, the Astros. I mean, come on.
Right.
It's
unbelievable. Yeah. All right. So next week, probably 7 o'clock, maybe 6:30, or 7 o'clock, an hour and 10 minutes. I don't know who we'll have on next week. It might be Terry Collins. Terry's granddaughter was graduating tonight, so he couldn't join Bobby. That would have been an interesting combo for sure. But and Bobby fit us in, so that was good. All right. Great questions as always, guys, in the Zoom room. I appreciate it. And we'll see everyone next week. Lou, have a good one, Lou. One week you can ask a question, Lou. We'll get you. The same thing, Arthur. We'll get you guys asking some questions. All right. Have a great week, Larry. I'll see you maybe go fishing this week sometime. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Good night. Let's go Mets.